Welcome to Keeping It Real with Anna and Paul. We're gonna go straight into it. We're gonna talk about what happened last night with the NBA. What is it called? Because I haven't been watching the NBA for the last couple of years, and I think this is very new to the
Yeah.
season. I did watch both games yesterday, but it's called the NBA Play-In.
Play-in tournament. Yeah,
Okay, Play-In Tournament.
they
What is that?
they started it last year while they were in the bubble, and I'm still not really sure why they did it again this year. It made sense last year since they had the big gap due to the pandemic. Uh, but basically, it's the teams between 7 and 10. They play a single elimination style tournament to determine the seventh and eighth seed for the playoffs. Instead of just the seventh and eighth seed being in there,
Okay.
they have the number 7 and the 8th seed. They play each other. Whoever wins that is the 7th seed. Whoever loses that game plays the winner of the 9 and 10 seed,
Mhm.
and then those two teams will play for the 8th spot. Is basically what it is.
Is it giving players or teams, I should say, more of a fair chance to, make the playoffs? Or why was this
Uh,
implemented?
for some teams, yeah, the teams in the 9 and the 10 spot, it's a huge advantage for them and it's actually a huge disadvantage for the teams that were slated to finish in the 7th and 8th, because really, if you lose one game, then you pretty much get screwed out of making the playoffs. And I mean, with last year it made sense because of that big gap, that where they weren't playing, and then they decided to resume the season, but they had to adjust it due to the time frame. They had to finish it in and then try to just hurry up and get to the playoffs. So, but this season, I still don't really get why they implemented it again. But I don't necessarily agree with it, because you take a team like the Lakers, which are, I think they're maybe like 12 or 13 games ahead of like the 9th and the 10th seed, and they could potentially just lose one game and be out of the playoffs, and one of those teams could be in. So I mean, it's an advantage for the 9 and 10 seed, but not so much 7 and 8. Because I mean, it's instead of it being an actual 7 game series, you could you just play one game and end up getting in there. So
Well, is it giving it more of a fair chance for teams that because certain areas and certain conferences have certain teams have dominated those conferences for such a long time? Is it maybe giving it more of a fair advantage? Because I know a lot of people are like, well, it's boring after a while because you see the same teams always progressing and the same ones never ending up in the playoffs.
it would if they weren't still going by conference, but it is still Western Conference teams playing other Western Conference teams, and same way with the Eastern Conference. So the only real advantage really is just for the 9 and 10 seed. They have a way better odds at making the playoffs, because they would essentially only have to win 1 or 2 games to get a spot in there. So
Okay. Well, very interesting. As I watched, the game yesterday, I was like, "What is this?" So, because I didn't really watch last year the NBA, but I forget what happened. But I think I was a little bit too busy to dedicate time for that. So I sent you a text this morning because I was surfing the internet last night before I went to bed, and it was the whole. Let me see. I can't even see what the freaking name is. What is it called?
Cyberpunk. Now, the one you sent me, I'm not sure, because I don't know that much information about it. I'm not sure if this is a newer video game that is out, because in a video they were talking about Cyberpunk, I think 2077, something along those lines. And I don't know if it's the exact same game as the one I'm thinking of. Like if there's just a Cyberpunk game and then this is a new one called Cyberpunk 2077. But the little bit that I do know about it, I know it's a first person shooter game, that it's fairly new. That it's been out. It has several different characters. And the main reason I found out about it is because Tristan Mays on MacGyver, people were actually sending her clips of the video because there's a character in the game that looks almost identical to her. And so that actually made her go buy the game, obviously. But I mean, it's a first-person shooter game from what I've been able to gather. So
Okay. But they're talking about like sex and relationships in the game or something. It's a game that, what is that about? Do you know what that?
that I don't know too much about. That was actually my first hearing about that. Like I said, I don't play video games like I used to, and even if I did, this typically wouldn't be one of the games I would play. I would, maybe NBA 2K or Call of Duty, something along those lines. But uh, yeah, it took me for a little bit of a loop.
They're basically the videos like how to have sex and relationships in this game. And obviously I was looking up sex and relationships topics, so that's how they like actually came up. It's probably one of the fourth top things searched on Google in the US for relationship stuff. So I was like, wait a minute, maybe I should know what this is. Then I was like, wait a minute, did I miss out on something during quarantine? Is that what everyone was doing? Because I remember I was talking to an associate, and he was like, oh, I'm lost in I had to get out of, what is it, the world like you put the things on, I don't know, virtual. He said, I'm lost in VR. I was like, what is VR? He was like, virtual reality. He's like, I've been stuck in there for 3 days. Did not venture to ask what was going on because the context of the conversation was about to go left. And I didn't really care to know about what was going on. I was like, are you good? Yes. Boom. Done. You're grown. Okay. But people, I'm like, is this what everyone was doing? Did I miss out on something like that?
Yeah, virtual reality is really starting to take over. Instead of just playing the game, it essentially almost puts you in it. You put the goggles on, and you're in it. It has the sound, and you turn your head, and it turns in the game. So it literally puts you in it essentially.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I haven't tried. I'm not a big gamer. I'm not a gamer. I actually have a PlayStation. It's right there. I have never even hooked it up. Like I just when I get stuck on something, I get stuck on something, and I don't have time to get stuck on video games. So, and getting 3 hours of sleep. Back in the day, I was like a Halo champ. When I was like 16, 17, I used to like rule with the sword and everything. I was in Halo champ, and I know how obsessed I was. And I was like, we can't do this. I don't even have one game on my phone. I'll play chess on the computer every now and again. That's about it. That is about it. So
yeah, something like this. It's surprising in a sense, but I'm almost not surprised, I guess, because a huge part of my growing up was playing Grand Theft Auto, and there's a lot of stuff you are introduced to in Grand Theft Auto as well. So especially as it, over the years, as it got more and more sophisticated and more lifelike. But this is definitely a new area of video games actually getting involved in sex and relationships. I mean, I know in some of the later Grand Theft Auto games, like you have girlfriends on there and you actually go on dates and stuff, but adding sex into the whole thing is pretty crazy.
There's porn advertisements with like animation or anime looking characters and stuff like that. So that's a whole, genre and niche and fetish in its own self. So well, I mean, to each their own. If you're not hurting animals and children. All right, switching to the next topic. We're not going to address the elephant in the room. No, we're just going to ignore it.
What else? What talking about?
All four of us. We're just gonna ignore the matching shirt and cup. We're just not. We're just.
I wasn't gonna say.
You're like at this point. I don't even know what to expect when I turn the camera on.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
It's gonna be like that one celebrity. I'm not gonna mention names. Who's in the barber shop.
I can't. I can't. I can't.
Yeah. Oh, I might get a pillow too. And just get a pillow and have it on a pillow. Get a stuffed animal.
I
Blow
can't.
up doll next.
Mm, mm, mm.
All right, we're going to switch to relationships. Okay. I don't know why I did that 2 times. Gotta do it 3 times now.
Got to. Might as well.
Might as well. So we're going to talk about, from my point of view, and then your point of view first. 3 signs that show that your relationship of a sexual kind, romantic kind. Why am I doing this?
No idea. I'm just gonna let you roll with it.
It's over. It's done. Got to get out. No, I'm just kidding. But how do you tell? 3 signs.
Uh, Probably the biggest one for me is probably a lack of communication, but more so like not even making an attempt at communicating anymore, because it shows a lack of disinterest. You're just not emotionally invested anymore, to where you just don't even care whether it's on your side or both parties. You're just not you're just not invested anymore. Um, Lack of intimacy is also another one. Whether it just be as simple as kid doesn't have to always be sex, but even just a lack of kissing, touching, anything like that. That could also be another indicator of just being mentally disconnected at that point. Uh, hmm, those are 2 of my bigger ones. I'm trying to think of a third one. Um, you go. I'll see if I can come up with a third one.
Okay. So communication is definitely number 1, because if you listen to Love and Lust, my podcast, I talk about communication. That's like first and foremost in your life. You need to communicate with yourself first, and then communicate with others. But to not just say communication, is also what are you communicating about? Because you could be communicating, could be like, oh, you want to see this movie, let's Netflix, whatever, but you're not communicating about the things that are actually important in you guys' lives, or one person is and one person isn't. So that's number 1. When the bad times start outweighing the good times, or even if it's not bad times, if it's just like kind of times, it's kind of like boring, and you've tried to like spice it up, and the other person tried to spice it up, and you communicated about it, and the other person maybe communicated to you about it, and it's still kind of like we're just here doing the moments and the movements that. And then when one or the other or both people stop trying, when you just stop, like you just don't really care anymore. You know what I mean? You stop trying, you don't care. So this person comes in the house, you're like, you don't care to ask them how their day is. You don't care to ask them about their family. You don't care to even know what's going on in their life. So, and that's always within the realm of your relationship with that person, because maybe you don't know what's going on in their business or something, because that's not the kind of relationship you guys have. So, yeah, those are my 3 things, my 3 top things.
Savvy.
So, did you figure out the third one?
Probably just kind of go in line with that. Once you get to that point where you just don't care anymore, then you start to just question, like, why are we even doing this? Like you said, uh,
Robotic.
it's just robotic. You're just going through the motions. There's no spark. It's just it could be just time to hang it up after that. After you've tried everything, of course. But I mean, if you've tried everything, you've given it everything you got, and it still is not there, then there's no point in it. 'Cause, I mean, you have people that stay together just for the kids' sake, and even that's detrimental to the kids. That's just gonna mess them up mentally as much as it's gonna mess you up in the long run. So
Yeah. All right, and before we get out of here, I'm going to address one more thing. I don't know. Did you hear Joe Budden's apology?
Apologize.
Can you tell me what you think about that?
For me, it came off not so sincere. It came off almost as if he was only apologizing because this came out. That's kind of how it looked to me. I don't, and he could have been sincere about it. I personally don't know how much contrition was involved in the apology. I literally think he's only apologizing because this information came out.
I don't want to comment on me feeling like he was sincere or not in it, because he could have been, and he could just be somebody that doesn't know how to show emotions. Some people are like that. What I didn't like is like, no, Joe, you weren't an idiot. You were a fucktard. Okay? I want you to you like to use more powerful language. I want you to use more powerful and flowery language towards what you fucking did. Okay? Don't get all clean now. Don't hold your curse words now. That was my one issue. I'm like, no, you're not an idiot. A lot of us are idiots, but we don't do that. Second off, he said that he wanted to put a system in place, something he already should have had. To protect himself and his name and everything, there always should be, it's to protect anybody. If you're working and you're in an intimate setting or something like that, there should always be a woman in the room with you if you're in a room with another woman. He also needs someone to help him, with his mouth. That's a publicist or something like that, a PR person. You needed that. But to say, I need to put all this in place, no. How about you do it right now? Why don't you do it on air if you actually care? I don't give a shit about we need to have more women on staff and Black women. Where are they? Why are you talking smoke? I want to see it. I want to have dates, because it's a learning lesson and people are watching you. And this could be a very powerful lesson to a whole bunch of other people. But why aren't you just like, I don't know. It's just, it could be sincere. We might see some changes. I'm hoping that we see some changes. I'm hoping that, the best comes from this situation. It just, she's been bothered by this since January. He's been around living his, life unscarred, you know what I mean? Because, he's able to do all this. So there should be something, about that and something compensated, honestly, towards that. But my biggest issue was the word idiot, because you use a lot of other language towards other people. And that makes me feel like you still feel like you're on a pedestal. I don't know you. That's just my little, what do I know, That's just like my little assessment. I mean, I do have some credit, so I can kind of do that. But until I see something, then I wasn't here for it. He could have done better.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, do you have anything else to say, Paul?
No, that's about it. Keep watching WNBA. Yeah, things are really, really good. It's a lot of talent down there. Sabrina Ionesco is really tearing it up. Coming back from her injury that she had last year. The future of the WNBA is in great hands with her. She just had the first triple-double in New York Liberty history, and they're off to a 3-0 start. So that's also another person to watch out for. But yeah, keep watching. It's some really good basketball.
All right, guys. Well, make sure you listen to Welcome Forever podcast. It comes out on Sunday, right? Yeah. And then Love and Lust comes out on Tuesdays. Video usually comes out on Thursdays, but just check because I upload videos all the time. My name is Anna Lefebvre, and I'm with Paul Chambers. Thank you guys for listening. I will see you the next time I see you. Out.